Welcome to another episode of Golden Nuggets, Tips and Tales, powered by Property Finder, the platform that celebrates top real estate talent and helps the best get even better. We're going to be exploring exclusive tools from Property Finder that enables and empowers agents to grow, perform, and lead. Today, we are with Clementine Munro, who is the sales director at Haus, one of the largest brokerages in Dubai. And she's also, as she likes to put it, a wife of one, mother of two, and all-round boss. And the question or the topic that we're going to talk about today is women having it all. Do you feel like you have it all, or has something had to give?
I think having it all is even a slightly bizarre concept. I think it's important to always be striving for something.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's seasonal. Sometimes I feel like I'm an excellent mum and work suffering a little bit. And sometimes work is going guns blazing. And then I feel like motherhood is suffering a little bit. I definitely never feel like I'm firing on all cylinders. But in terms of having it all, I very much love what I do and I love my family. And so far, I'm happy with the balance I've got.
Yeah, because it's about also defining what your all is, because it's not the same for every woman, you know. Just, you've got to be realistic. Like, don't look at other women and compare yourself or think she's really got it together, because deep down she might be crumbling inside. And just try and think, what is your definition of all? Of course, there is that mum guilt. Do you ever experience that?
Massively. And I think what's hard about mum guilt is you never truly know the impact that working when they're young will have until they're older. And I think that's what's one of my biggest guilts, is not being able to make an informed decision necessarily, because they're not old enough to let me know necessarily. They don't know any different. And then I think as I've grown in confidence and grown in my career, very much when I was building, I would say no to things, shorter maternity leaves, not going home if they were sick, things like that, because I was very much in a building phase of my career. Now I feel I'm living in the fruit of what's been years and years of hard work a little more. And so probably being a bit more generous with myself to make sure that I can go home and do more things with them.
And yours are both under 5, aren't they?
Yes.
Let's be honest. Do you really have any memories before 5? I don't. I feel like my memories kicked in at 5 years old.
Although I do read a lot that a child's kind of core identity is made in the first 3 years.
Okay, right, yeah.
So I think it's not definitely the memories, but I think for me, I just try and make sure that when I'm with them, I'm really intentional with the time.
Bringing it back into real estate, heavily male-dominated industry. In terms of real estate agents, 66% of real estate agents in Dubai are male, like 2/3. So that means the remaining third female. And of that, leadership, women in leadership, makes up only 3%, which is super low. Why is that? Why are we not like pushing for ownership or management or directorship? Or is it just so great to be a female real estate agent?
Do you know what? I think there's a misconception that women are hard to manage, or that women are emotional, or that women won't make it in real estate. Therefore, I would say most companies don't actively recruit women, don't suggest it as a career for women. We find that the women in our business do phenomenally well, are incredibly stable, emotionally resilient, and make brilliant real estate agencies. But I think it comes from the top down. It comes from the management. What's your hiring policy? And then what are you doing when you've got the women in to train them and retain them?
Absolutely. And if you look at some of, well, across the board, probably in the top 5 of every brokerage, the top 5 sales agents in every brokerage, I'd say a good portion of them are going to be women.
Absolutely.
The top performers. For
us, certainly.
Yeah, it's empathy as well. They've got a bit more empathy, relatability. We possess more of the softer skills required in this industry. What else do you think gives us an advantage?
I think when you just create a fair landscape, when you create a total meritocracy, it's naturally that whoever is the most skilled the cream rises to the top. And I think that's more what we're seeing. Yes, I think women do possess certain perhaps listening skills. But then I think we lack confidence skills.
Yes.
So for every skill that I would say we have more innately, often circumstantially we don't possess it as much as well.
Yeah.
So I think it really, if you look at the organizations where the women are at the top of the tree, they're probably more dynamic organizations are at the whole. And that's certainly something we see at House and House.
And that's something really important actually as well, confidence. And there was a study done by LinkedIn that, I think it was done by LinkedIn or Harvard or someone, but it was based on LinkedIn data. Women will only apply for a role if they tick 10 out of 10 boxes or whatever the requirements are. They would only apply if they felt they met 100% of the criteria. Whereas men, even if they only cover 60% of the criteria, they'll apply for that job.
That is fascinating.
Yeah. So it goes to show you, like, women, unless we feel we can fulfill that role, we will not. But the guys will push for it. And maybe there's a bit of a boys' club mentality going on. Do you think? Do you feel that here?
I definitely think in the UK, real estate is an all boys club.
Yeah.
And it's an all posh boys club.
Yeah.
White male privilege, navy suits, shooting.
Eton backgrounds. Yeah.
And I think in Dubai, it is much more of a meritocracy, but you have to have women in leadership to showcase other women that it's possible.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the real estate echo chamber is just all young men. And so how do you know that you can do it?
Do you feel like, because I certainly know I did, I feel like I had to act a bit more masculine with every promotion I got, with every role that I've completed. I felt I had to step into my masculine to be taken seriously, to excel. I couldn't do it in my feminine. What about you?
Yeah, I think for me, how it's manifest probably is not making any allowances for like women's health. So taking such a short maternity, not saying that I was tired when I was exhausted, not taking a sick day when maybe I was ill because I thought, I didn't want to come across as weak or vulnerable or not as able.
Yeah. Not crying.
Oh, exactly. And I think now I'm a lot more confident in the feminine energy. And I would say now I try and display as many feminine traits as I can to kind of give permission to others to do the same. But that's only come with age and that's only come with confidence.
Yeah. And how would you say other women have shaped your career?
I've been lucky enough to had a wonderful female boss. Her name was Victoria, and she's now head of global residential for Savills. So a huge role. And I think she was my boss at such a crucial moment in time, probably from 25 to 28. And I think to watch someone who was a mother, young mother of two, but also someone who was just absolutely excellent
at their job,
but was very feminine. I think that gave me a lot of confidence to realize that I could be feminine. Also, she would do this brilliant thing, which is at the end of the day, she never lied about where she was going. A lot of people say, I've got a meeting, I've got an appointment. She'd be like, I'm going home to be with my children.
Yeah.
And I think hearing her say that is now something that I say, really not to ever feel that I have to not say the exact truth of where I'm going.
Yeah.
Or I'm going early to be with my children, having that confidence to stand up and say that, and that is an acceptable answer.
Brilliant. I mean, my experience with female bosses was a little bit more, I'm going to give a shout out to Emma, who definitely shaped my entire life. I'd say Emma at Townends back in we're going early 2000s. And I had that's when I was entering real estate. And I went for an interview and they said, we've got a position in sales and leasing. So you're going to go and see the sales manager and the leasing manager. And the sales manager was like, very much, yeah, this is what it's like. It could take months to close your first deal. And then it might take months more to get your commission. And he just wasn't very enthusiastic. And then I went and met Emma in leasing, and she was so alive and bubbly and vivacious. And I was like, right, yes. And that's when that shaped my career trajectory, because had I gone into sales, I probably wouldn't have stayed for much longer, but I stayed in leasing. But then my next boss, after her, I vowed never to work for another woman again, which is kind of counterintuitive of this conversation. But to me, I prefer being led by men than women. And maybe because it was the early 2000s, looking back at it now, I feel like she was an absolute nightmare to work for because she had a little bit more to prove. So she was putting herself under mega pressure and a result, the rest of her team. But I don't think we have to prove ourselves anymore. We're in the C-suites. And
if anything, men's mental health is something that I would say is much more at the forefront of our minds now. And I think women, we have come a long way, and we are on the whole better at communicating our needs. I think men don't find it as easy to communicate their needs. And I think Dubai, where it's a commission-only landscape and everyone wants to immediately go into the nice apartment and drive the nice car and have the smart watch and no one realizes that it takes time and they put themselves under tremendous pressure, can get into debt. And I think it can be really hard to be a man. So I think it's extra important to have women in leadership who probably are perhaps a little more comfortable at having those conversations and just saying, hey, are you okay?
And it's funny you mentioned that because we've got Ben on the show, Ben Greenwood, and he raised a topic about, he started doing therapy. So he was like, it's the most underrated thing for men, and very taboo still. And we should explore that and be more open about it. But whereas women, we're each other's therapists, right? So we I mean, not saying we have psychology degrees but there is that, we can talk, we can express ourselves, and support each other in that way that perhaps men don't really get to. And that's actually the purpose behind SheForShe, which you and I are both part of. We are mentors in the 3rd edition, SheForShe by Property Finder, in partnership with Women Choice. And applications are now open. So we're going to be, I think there's going to be 30 of us mentors, women in leadership, mentoring 300 women who want to rise up the ranks.
Absolutely vital to be able to ask the questions, because you don't want to necessarily go to your manager because you don't want to say maybe, what's the maternity policy? What's it like? How long did you take? I can't access these healthcare benefits. I'm feeling this. My customers are asking, because you don't want to necessarily bring that to the workplace. So I think by having these women who are in the industry, that you feel that you can confidently ask all of these questions, no hold bars, is so important.
Brilliant. Okay. So what are you hoping to achieve with your mentorship in the SheForShe 3rd edition?
I think I am just looking forward to connecting with people who are probably starting off in their career, but I would very much like to also work with people who are navigating the maternity space, because it's no joke that baby brain is real. I remember being so dumb is the only way to describe it. You know, literally I'd be like, can you say that again? Writing things down, and you're already feeling so tired and so not confident. And I think just being able to reassure women that they will get their spark back, that it is possible to work with children or having just had children. And I think just be a bit of a shoulder to cry on.
Brilliant. So for any postpartum women, perhaps, or young mums or expectant mums, join the SheForShe campaign. Applications are now open until mid-August 2025, depending on when you're listening to this. So yeah, join us if you want to be mentored by some women who've been there and done that. Hope you enjoyed that episode. We're going to leave a link at the bottom with details of how to join and catch the rest of Clementine's episodes. And while you're at it, binge the whole season.